Okay, so let's do this again. Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to BIZ 314, the data and AI journey of the Economist. Just before dive deep, just show of hands, how many of you had a successful POC of generative AI? Don't be shy. Okay, keep your hands up if you move that to production. Now the tough question, keep your hands up if you have a pipeline that you confidently can take a simple idea directly from a POC quickly to a production. Okay, less hands. So what we see here in the room is reflect what we see on the industry. People can get really excited about generative AI, which is great. However, moving to a production requires a strategy. And that's why we are here today. So my name is Ahmed Rafat. I'm a Principal Solution Architect on AWS. And I'm delighted to be here today with the team of The Economist, Professor Bogdan and Angelis, who are going to be talking to you about their journey also about data and AI. We have a lot to cover. We have demos, architectures, strategy. So let's dive deep. I will start first to talk about how you can build the Gen AI and data strategy. It's quite hard to do that in 10 minutes, but I will do my best. And I will be closing a little bit with a demo, then hand over to Dr. Bogdan to talk to you about the real stuff, how they build it in The Economist, okay? Moving 887 years old organization with using data and AI. And then Angelos will do for you an amazing demo. Then I will come back to stage, closing with a little bit about model evaluations and next step. So everyone is ready? Let's go on. So I'm sure that many of you already thought about different use cases about generative AI. And there's so many of those. However, we can think about putting all of this together in three key main categories. One is related to how you can enhance your operation. Next, how you can increase the productivity of your employee. And then externally, how you can actually do a better experience for your customers. And once you come with those ideas, you can be very excited, deliver a successful POC, which is great. And you know what's happened next? I think everyone knows, right? We face the reality. Where is my data? Where is the security? How I can do this to production? How I can scale it? The adoption of it. And you stuck on this for some time until you achieve this nice plateau that you see in the top that you move it to production. The core of the session today is to share with you how you can quickly move from the idea to the plateau of the production quickly as you can. And with that, you need to have a strategy. And as I mentioned, every organization can have their own strategy. From what we hear from our customer, building a strategy can be part of three core areas. The first one is the mindset. And you need to fall in love with the problem that you're trying to solve, not actually with the solution, okay? And we'll dive deep on this. Next is how you can organize your people, your team, to be able to best utilize those technology and quickly deliver a business value to your organization. And last but not least is about tech. So let's quickly cover this. Mindset, always think big. Have the bigger vision, which is great, amazing. However, start by one idea, which you see there in the top, the innovation. This idea can come with a certain POC that you started as a product, you push it to your customer, start to collect data and feedback, and then you take this to develop more idea, but at the same time enhancing the existing product. And that's the flywheel of innovation. We're using this in AWS, we use this in Amazon, and many of our customers are using it. And remember, heart of this is people, technology, and process is the core of your strategy. And data is a really important aspect for this. And one of the things I like about generative AI, the generative AI actually help us to show to everyone, and everyone be realizing now how important is data. Maybe you see how the hike now, most of the executive now focusing on data start during the same time when generative AI take the world by storm. Because when you think about generative AI application, it's just the app is in the top of iceberg. However, the details of where is my data, how I can take it, how I can secure it, the foundation is the real challenge. So always keep in mind that you have the bigger vision, you start quickly, and then you think about your data strategy. I put here on the slide, I don't have a time to go into details, but this is a couple of main advice when you build your data strategy. One of the key things of those ones is think about how you can actually making your data is your differentiator. Anyone now can grab a credit card, go and buy the best model ever now. However, your data is your differentiator. This is what you need to do. The other thing, don't duplicate data or move big data unless you are actually need to do that. And the last but not least is how you can empower people to be able to share your data and being a data-driven organization. And that's take me to my next point, is how I can spread this culture of data on my organization. If anyone been on the cloud business for 10, 15 years, remember when we talk about breaking down monolithic application to microservices? Similar idea that we talk about data now. We want the organization to actually balance between having a centralized, controlled data platform to something that sits in between this and totally agile. Because the first option you see here is an organization that have everything dedicated in one team, which can act as a bottleneck. The next type of the organization, which is very silos, which is very agile, however, is a little bit hard to be able to know what other team is doing. And that's when you build your data strategy, you need to think how you can build a modern data community. What's a modern data community? The idea is you increase and help people to have this data-driven culture by encouraging people when they work on a data set, they share it. So I work on a data set, let's say I work in sales, so I generate a data set that I can publish that could be consumed by marketing. So in the middle here, there's a platform using some solution like AWS Data Zone that allow you to publish this data as a user with metadata. And this metadata, actually, people can go and search. If they like it, they can subscribe. Then the consumer can use it and start to build on top of that data platforms, BI solution, traditional AI, ML, and Gen AI. So remember, first thing we talked about was the mindset. Now we're talking about how you set up your data strategy and how you build your people internally and how you can empower them. So you empower them with this data, but also you empower them with tools to do an AI, even if they are not data scientists. Use no-code, low-code. Things like SageMaker Canvas can empower people to build a fully forecasting algorithm. They can build a predictive maintenance. They can do predicting some values and then share it with their data scientists to be able to consume that. And then for anyone been here with Amazon for long, maybe you hear about two-pizza team. Anyone hear about two-pizza team before? Okay, so build your two-pizza team, which means a small team focused in a product. You remember the mindset that I just mentioned and the flywheel? Think about that. You build the team, be responsible for this one. And the last is not least is about technology. So we in AWS, we provide you with a platform that allow you to build the best in class in terms of generative AI application, from the foundation layer to Bedrock to Amazon Q. I'm sure many of you saw the slides today, so I'm not going through much on it. I was just focusing on Amazon Bedrock. So Amazon Bedrock is the easiest way to build generative AI application. And I will not cover every single feature of it because this is required 2 days, I would say. However, back to our thing. We talk about mindset, people, and we want to empower them on building generative AI. One of the things that I want you to try is Amazon Bedrock Flow. If someone wants to build, take those ideas and start to, again, back to the flywheel that I was talking about, accelerating with that, empower them. Give them no-code, low-code platform that can build a generative AI application. And let me show you this in action. So you have here a demo, which is simply, I want to build a Q&A application. So I will go to SageMaker Bedrock. I click on creating a flow. And this flow is just a canvas. I will give it a name. I'll give you a nice canvas, which having something what we call nodes, which you're going to see it now. I will create my flow. It will take me to this nice canvas with input and output, as you see here on the screen. On the left side is my input. and the right-hand side is output, and then you see here all the nodes. Think of that as like building blocks that allow you to build your generative AI application. I drag and drop whatever I want. My application here is simply a Q&A application. So I will just give it a name, define the prompt, as you're gonna see here on the prompt flow. Remember, no code so far, right? I'll just put there, act as a Q&A and application, and respond to customer question. Then I'll select the models. As you see, all the top leading models, Amazon model, Anthropic, DeepSeek even, if people is a fan of the DeepSeek open source model, and all that stuff. And once I have it, I just save it, and I can come and ask question. This will be published as an API, which is, I can receive a response. However, you maybe notice that this is like, doesn't connect to my knowledge base. So where is my differentiator? Where is my data strategy? That's what you're gonna see here. So simply what I can do, I with one click remove the prompt, and I add a knowledge base. Similar idea to the previous one. I will add the knowledge base, select from the knowledge base that I created before that is connected to my data sources. And then from here, again, I define my prompt, and I just simply ask any questions. So here is my inputs and output. This is the model that I'm selecting. And you will notice also we have guardrails. So that's perfect for security. And then this is my input and output. And I can save this. And once I'm saving this, I can actually now start to testing it. So I ask question, a company called Octang, and now I'm receiving an answer about actually my response with the trace, with guardrails. I save that, I get an API with the ARN, and then I simply can build any application. I'm using here Streamlit, so I build a Streamlit app in actually 5 minutes, connect this API, and get a response. So I hope by now you have a quick overview about how you can build a data and AI strategy. Remember, mindset, people, and tools. And with that, I want to bring it to life to see it actually in real with Economist. So, Dr. Bogdan, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. All right. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm delighted to be here today, presenting the AI journey of The Economist. It was not an easy one, lots of challenges, as we all facing, I suppose. But never mind, it's always a great experience. Working with AI, allowing you to bring some interesting ideas to reality, it's one of the fun things you can do. So I'm Bogdan Vrusias. I'm the head of AI and data engineering for The Economist. Today with me, Angelos Christidis will also be showing you some demos later on. One thing I wanted to start with is to give you a little bit of background. So, because The Economist has been around for a lot of time, right? So, 100 and so years, 182 years. Everything started from, somebody who had an idea about being able to bring up, to further the cause of free trade in the world, published an article a long time ago, and eventually that has become what it is today, a global media and information service business. Now, the main thing for us is that we want to champion progress. That's the idea, and be able to provide knowledge to the world is something that is fairly challenging, but for that reason we identified and created 4 different brands. So we have the newspaper that we all know, and at the moment there are over 1.2 million subscribers worldwide. We also have the Economist Intelligence, providing forecasts, providing indexes. Some of them are quite interesting ones, like the Big Mac index, looking at the cost of burgers across the world and being able to relate that to how the economy is performing in that specific country. We're also looking at democracy and so on and so forth. So quite some interesting insights and data that we make available to our consumers. We also have the Economist Impact and Economist Education as well. And all these units, they share this devotion for innovation. independence as well, and rigor in the way that they provide services. So the Economist is actually a leader in analysis, intelligence, and influence for the world. And we build products that are providing all these services. So how did it all started? 1843, a Scottish hat manufacturer, James Wilson, founded The Economist. From that day, and since then, we've been publishing the newspaper for a very long time. About 100 years later, we also started looking at additional data. Although even from the first issue of The Economist, you probably won't be able to see it very well in the screen, but there is already tabular data on the newspaper. So data was always core for being able to inform people. Everything is based on data. And to be able to handle that, we eventually had to build teams that collect that data globally, works within teams, and makes this all data available. Now, from 1991, when we had our first website, we started to digitize as much as possible the Economist. So we had a digital version of the newspaper. People could then start accessing this online, and more and more then capabilities started to show up, searching and so on and so forth. Today, we have made a lot of progress in that sense. Apart from mobile phone applications, there are lots of services that we have built into the offering, and we are now considering to extend towards with the help of AI and machine learning, specifically generative AI. So we are leveraging fairly advanced technologies, but also state-of-the-art methodologies to be able to put all that in place. Because it's not just about the technologies. As Ahmed mentioned earlier, you need to have operations in place. You need to be able to consider the people, technology, and processes as well. So I'm going to start with giving you some examples. I mean, we are working on so many areas, but I thought those 4 that we actually productionized will be fairly good examples to give you an understanding of the challenges that we've been facing over that time. For example, content tagging. We're publishing the articles, and it's not just the newspaper articles, also the Economist Intelligence is publishing articles related to microeconomics and indexes and forecasts and so on. And they all have the same challenge. How do we define topic areas for those articles? How can we understand what type of topics the users are consuming? And then how can we use this context to enhance our searching, our navigation, and the user experience? So tagging those documents with these topics is one of the challenges that we wanted to address. At the moment, we had a manual effort. The taxonomy was fairly complex, and it was quite difficult to keep that up to date because everything is evolving. The topics will evolve, the language will evolve, and we have to keep this up to date. Eventually, what we developed was a number of machine learning models that learn how to generate those tags. Later on, we looked into the large language models as well and their capabilities to identify named entities and so on and so forth within the text and provide richer, more accurate tagging for the newspaper. Another interesting use case is also recommendations. I mean, we have recommendations, and it's been around for a long time. The interesting thing about recommendation is that, I mean, the most typical one you would look at is item-based recommendation. You're trying to find similar articles and provide additional knowledge. And sometimes you want to be able to understand the flow of the recommendation so you can keep on the journey of the reader going for as long as possible and provide the necessary knowledge they require to work through. So again, with the help of machine learning and generative AI, we are now capable to, first of all, create embeddings and representation feature vectors of the articles and the user interests that will match much better, but also being able to understand how to navigate them through this vast amount of data and provide them the correct content. Translation is another interesting one. And again, translation can be quite challenging. Every domain has its own challenges. When you translate one article to a specific language from English to another language, is not always translated in the exact way you want it to express what you want to express in the article. So with the help of the editorial team, and I should mention also that even the content tagging and the recommendations are always checked and validated by the editorial team. And also we then teach the machine learning models to learn from the editors on how to evaluate the outcomes in the best possible way. With the translation, we do the same thing. We check to understand if the translation is done properly, and then we teach models to evaluate and understand if the output is correct. And then we fix that. Finally, summarization is another interesting use case. We want to be able to provide concise information, sometimes as newsletters back to users, tell them about a story that they might be interested in reading, and have concise summary of what this article is about. So this is important because sometimes people don't have enough time. And how can you encapsulate the meaning of that article in a small sentence so that people can then click on that and follow and read the articles? So summaries are also very important for our business. But again, we need to evaluate that using humans. So how can we have the human in the loop inside all of those operations that we're trying to automate? So challenges, challenges, challenges. There are lots of things that we are looking at. I've listed here 8 things, 8 categories of challenges that we are facing, but trying to encapsulate as much as possible. The interesting thing about all of those challenges is that everything at the end of the day, if you look at it, is around data. So having the data is great, but you need to make sure that your data is labeled sometimes. If you want to do anything as basic as fine-tuning, you need to have data for it. If you want to do evaluation, you need to have data for that, labeled data. So it's not easy. So that could be quite expensive, having people to actually label data or do some evaluation so you have examples then to teach large language models and so on. Then the processes can be quite complex as well. As I said, we want to have people as part of the loop and operations that are automated. They perform all these unit tests that we call now evaluation as part of the machine learning journey. And then different staging environments where you want to have user experience testing. And then how do you push it into production? Once you push it into production, how do you monitor? How do you ensure that there are guardrails in place? And then how do you retrain and improve your models? So all these operations can become quite complex. Governance and versioning is also another one. How do you keep lineage of the outcomes and the inputs that have been provided to a model so that you can make further improvements? And then how do you secure that? Automatic pipelines as part of these operations. How do you monitor those operations, ensuring that the quality is high as well? Evaluating algorithms and monitoring for quality assurance. It's at the end of the day, the way that this sort of technology is evolving, it becomes more and more apparent that evaluation is one of the key elements of it. So I think in the next few years, apart from the large language models and the generative AI and agents and everything else that is evolving, we will realize that evaluation probably is one of the most important things that we need to invest time on getting it right. Avoiding manual integration as well. I mean, we also have this agentic AI concept. How do we allow agents to integrate, negotiate, and bring value to your business? But then you're looking back into your team, and the challenge there is your team skilled enough? What do you need to bring them up to date with the necessary technology, ensuring that they can, in this constantly changing environment, how do they keep up? And finally, security and privacy. The data that we are collecting needs still to be secure. There are already issues nowadays where we see, from day to day that through the large language model, people are still capable to trick the large language model in retrieving some data that should not be given as an output. How do we ensure that this is all secure? So I'm going to try to focus a little bit on what we were actually trying to do. So the main thing for us at The Economist is to start small and eventually grow that into supporting all the operations that we wanted, right? So the main thing for us at the beginning is to find a way where the engineering team can collaborate between them, learn through that collaboration, experiment as much as possible. And you saw, for example, what Ahmed was showing earlier with the bedrock flows, how somebody could pilot something extremely quickly. Then move from idea to production in timing that is fairly quick. In the past, we had to build all the workflows manually, put the containers into production, and we had to manually kind of keep them up and going. Can we have a platform that will enable all of that and automate the process? So that's the idea. These are the main kind of objectives we were trying to achieve. First of all, to build a platform so that we can automate as much as possible and improve productivity. Second, have the ability to pilot ideas. Third, reduce the time to production and also being able to measure that as much as possible. And then having those operations as automated as possible. Okay, so for that, Ahmed has already given lots of information on that. So I just wanted to mention that we have considered the AI framework that we wanted to put in place. The strategy framework that we wanted to achieve is all related to AI operations. I know there are lots of keywords for that: LLM ops, ML ops, AI ops. I basically mean the whole thing. How can we run operations related to AI, including generative AI? And people, processes, and technology indeed is the three things we really need to consider. We had to look at the team structure. We had to restructure our team internally, making sure that we have the right people in the right posts to do the right job. We had to look into processes. How do we govern data, and how do we set best practices? And eventually, we looked at the infrastructure to support all of that. Okay, so I'm going to show you three diagrams, and obviously you can spend time studying those later on. But the main thing I want to focus here is on, starting with data. How do you handle data? At the end of the day, data defines most of your processes. So in order to handle data properly, you really need to be able to have a setup, a platform that will enable this. Access to data, monitoring, and so on and so forth. The next thing that is important is to look at then how do you set up the infrastructure to run AI and machine learning. I mean, this is probably a simplified version of what we've set up, so even if it looks a little bit more complicated. But if you look at the bottom area, you've got the operations. The operations are running, ensuring that the experimental environment on top of the operations, as you can see, eventually becomes one of the workflows. And the workflow can be repeated without needing the data scientists or other AI engineers to be in place. And then this repetition, this automation that we are putting in place can run everything from evaluation to pushing the models and the solutions into production. So that's the whole idea, to be able to understand the kind of environment and the humans that need to be part of that to enable your operations. And finally, when you look at generative AI, we had to identify and find tooling that will allow us to build generative AI applications. So this here is part of Bedrock, which is also part of the previous architecture I'm showing you. So I'm going into a little bit more details here just to show you that eventually we're utilizing the functionality and features of Bedrock in order to build our workflows that pushes the functionality we require as an API in real time. So I'm going to let Angelos now show you a couple of demos so you can see more or less the kind of things we've been working on. So thank you. I'll come back for one more slide.
Cool. So thank you very much, Bogdan and Ahmed. So I think we're just going to scratch the surface. We use so many AWS services for AI/ML. I think we'll just have a look at Bedrock. We'll go through a couple of things on Bedrock that we really love. First thing I want to show is prompt management. So we come from traditional AI/ML backgrounds, and we've always loved things like model registries and all that. And kind of moving to Gen AI, the prompt essentially is now the model, right? So we use something like AWS Bedrock's prompt manager, which I'll just log into here, to kind of track and version and promote all of our prompts, right? So that's what it looks like, as you see now on screen. And I think I'll just open a tone prompt, right, where we kind of use it to generate tags for articles. What we love is that Bedrock treats the prompt as a construct, right? So it's not just the prompt. You can also see we have all the parameters, which are all available in code and everything as well. And then you can see there all the versions. So we can compare versions, track versions, promote versions, and so on and so forth. Then we also really like the prompt builder. It's a really easy way for any persona, technical or non-technical, to experiment, right? We can change all the parameters, we can add tools, we can add caching. It's a really, really intuitive interface, really nice UI. And again, everything you see here is available as code. And like Ahmed showed you, all the latest and greatest models, all available within that UI as well. We can change the model easily, and then we can even run a test. So if I just take an article here, I can paste it, and you can see there I can run it, and you'll see there at the end just tags coming out straight away. So yeah, really easy to now say, okay, I love this one, promote it, and all the code processes will pick up and deploy that prompt through CDK. Now, something on flows, like Ahmed showed you, how do we now use all these prompts? We use flows for translations now, for generating newsletters, and also taxonomies. So we're taking all of our prompts for tagging and kind of chaining them together, essentially, right? So you can see my flow here that generates like mission tags. It does a bit of NER as well with some language models. And let's say now we want to add a new prompt. Easy peasy. We grab the node for the prompt, right? We select the prompt that actually reads the registry you saw before, and it just picks up everything automatically. We connect that to our input, which is an article, and then we just add a new output. So in this case, these content mission tags that I want to generate. And obviously Flows also supports AWS CDK, everything available as code, and again, really easily testable. Paste the article in, run, and you'll just see a bunch of outputs there, one for each prompt basically, come out in just a second. There you go. And yeah, it's also really, really simple to trace the results, right? So you don't need to add additional logging. You could just go to the traces and you can see every node. What was the input? What did the language model do? What are the outputs? And how is it all wired up together? Cool. So another feature I want to show of Bedrock that really, really has skyrocketed our experimentation time is kind of two things in tandem. It's the idea of a knowledge base and then the retrieve and generate API that you get as part of the knowledge bases. So it's really important as well to tell you that I have not sped up this video. I will literally create a end-to-end RAG solution in less than 5 minutes, right? So the first thing we want to do is create a knowledge base. Knowledge base is just a vectorized version of some corpus, right? I'm just going to take a snapshot of the world ahead. It's an edition we publish every November, I think, that kind of looks ahead, kind of some predictive stuff, some events, and what's going to happen, and so on. So let's create a knowledge base, a snapshot on a snapshot of that data, right? I go to Bedrock, I say, okay, create a vector store, just give it a name, world ahead, and then where is that data, right? So we have everything on S3, so it's really easy to connect, but Bedrock also introduced the web crawler. So if your website is open, you could literally crawl that data as a source of truth. Yeah, so I say S3, okay, where on S3? I just have a snapshot of a bucket there, world ahead. Cool. And then any extra parsing we need to do? Well, our data is quite clean already, so not much parsing, but we could add a model here to interpret and clean that data up. And then we also have control on the chunking strategy of the vector DB. So do we want to do it semantically? Do we want to do it by a fixed window size? And so on. What model do we want to use? Let's just take some state-of-the-art AWS Titan. Yeah, again, fully customizable, change the dimensions, and then import an existing OpenSearch collection, use another vector database. No, let's just quickly create one. I want to move fast, review it, and just create it. So now I got a little message that it's creating a vectorized version of my data. You can go make a coffee and then come back. And now we go to the tester screen, right? And this is really what we love. So you can see there, we're now in testing and we have access to two things. So select a model first, and then we have access to two APIs. Either just retrieve, so just do a search, give me similar articles, or retrieve and generate. That's really cool. So that will take a bunch of stuff we can set up, like how many sources do we want to come back? What kind of search do we want to do? Semantic, hybrid? Do we want to stream the response from the model? Do we want to add any filters? And on filters, I really highly recommend this new functionality, model-generated filter. So you can make the language model detect the filters, right? You don't have to explicitly state them anymore and kind of extract them. It will understand, someone says, past year, and it will apply that based on your data's metadata. Really cool feature. We can add guardrails, don't give financial advice, so on and so forth, really easily. Yeah, and just you can change the whole orchestration of it. And now all we have to do is give our English language query. What is the AI effect of AI on jobs? So it's handling everything, embedding the user query, similarity search, fetching the n closest sources, citations, generating the new answer based on that context, and streaming it back. And we've done nothing. We've just used the power of Bedrock. And you can see really cool as well, the citations, they're numbered. And I can go drill down into every single one. I can see the metadata, so this chunk was from this article, which is published in this section, and you can kind of route whatever you need to at the other end. Tying it all together, a really cool bonus demo. There's a lot of talk recently about MCP, a Model Context Protocol. We're starting to explore what we can do with that. And so what I've done here is I've taken what I've created in the previous demos, so the knowledge base and the orchestration and all that, and I've just wrapped it in an MCP call, essentially. That could be on AWS Lambda, it could be on an ECS, Docker, anywhere. So I'm in the Claude native desktop app. I've not made any modifications, nothing. I've just given Claude access to our MCP tool, which you can see there in the bottom. So available MCP tools retrieved from our AWS knowledge base, right? And now again, I'll ask a question. I'll ask specifically on World Ahead. So what is the Economist World Ahead report saying about tariffs, about the automotive industry? And so Claude actually knows now, okay, I can access that knowledge base live over MCP. It's the first time I ran it, so it will ask for some authentication, as you'll see now in a sec. So I'll help you by searching the Economist World Ahead. Yeah, just allow for this chat, allowed access, and you can see the query is preparing there, and even a number of sources to fetch. And you can see, bang, directly, live connection straight to our knowledge base. You can imagine a world eventually where we have all these agents talking to our corpus, and personal assistants kind of bouncing around and reading articles, and yeah, generating contextually relevant answers. Really, really cool feature. So I've only shown 2 or 3 things, but honestly, we use so much more from Bedrock. We're looking now at batch inference as a really cool way to kind of tag our whole corpus with new taxonomies that we prepare. Yeah, we're looking at things like evaluations and even starting to get a bit more involved with sort of the Bedrock agents and all the connections we can make there. Yeah, so thanks. And with that, it's back to Bogdan to tell you what's next for us.
Thank you. All right, one more slide as I promised on my side. So what's next for The Economist? I mean, I'm just going to spend 2 seconds. All I wanted to say here is that what is important for us is to realize that humans are still important, right? So although this is all a nice hype with the AI and generative AI, eventually what we want to do is to have AI integrated into our systems. And then we can see great results out of it. We believe strongly that everything that we produce should be produced by humans, and we use AI to support the humans, the editorial teams and so on, the analysts and so on, to basically make it better. That's the whole idea. So we're looking forward to some interesting ideas. You know, some of the things we're looking at the moment is to see whether we can interact better with the content that is being generated, being able to see if we can even expand the services that are available from the editorial team, and if we can scale them. You know, can we use AI as an embedded method to allow the editorial team and the analysts to scale their capabilities and provide more services. And at the end of the day, what we want to achieve is make products and services that are better for the customers. So thank you so much for your attention, and I will hand it back to Ahmed.
Amazing. What an amazing story. Thanks, Bogdan. So yeah, love it, love it. They even got MCP, right? And that's what we do, right? And that's what we really love it. Thanks for the other room as well. So that we really love it, right? So that's one thing that you saw so many things, right? We talk about the strategy, mindset, people, tools, talk about models. So many models. That's a quick thing. How you can select the best model? You need to always in your strategy focus on 3 things, right? Quality, the best model, that's great. But if the model is slow or is expensive, you cannot take it to production. You need to balance between this pyramid. I love pyramids. I'm from Egypt, by the way. So you need to get this really the right balance in, right? And to able to do that, you need a tool. We provide you with the 3 tools, okay? So the first thing that you can automate this tool, we have a data set that you can use to evaluate your model. You can bring your sample data set also to automate it. The second thing that you can also use a human in loop to evaluate this model, give you thumb up, thumb down, rating. And the interesting stuff, which I want to show you in action, a last demo, is how you are actually can use another LLM to evaluate your LLM. So what you see here, I will be using a model to evaluate another model. So what you see in a stage here, I can create a job. As you see here, a multiple option to evaluate your model. I will choose the model as a judge. And in that one, I will select the evaluator model. I'll just give the job name. And then I will select the evaluator model, that the model will evaluate my model. So here I will choose Anthropic 3.5 Sonnet. And then next, I will select the model that I want to evaluate, right? Because we are doing automated LLM. I will select the model that I want to evaluate. Here I will choose Claude Haiku, which is a small model from Anthropic. And then that's it. I will just offer as well, give as well reference data set. And I will show you the data set. So here, I will choose as well before the data set the metrics. As you see here, there's so many metrics that I can use for my evaluation. The quality metrics and responsible metrics. Responsible AI is very, very important. I'll select my metrics, select a reference data set. The reference data set is just simple, can be a JSON document, as you see here on the screen. What is, for example, what's S3 and what's the response. So now I have 3 things. I have the evaluator model. I have the model that I'm evaluating. I have my data. And that's it. I will run my job. And then this tool will go and evaluate and give you how this actually is going, matching the criteria that we are mentioning. So I will open the job here. And then when you see on the job, there is all the metrics that we have. And how is the model evaluating each of that. And you can even dive deep. You can select any of those metrics, and we will show you the score and what also the prompt that we input and what was the output. And we'll show you the score, but sometimes score could be confusing. So we add as generating a native English explanation of why we give this a score. And remember, this is one of the 3 ways of evaluating. You can do manual with human, we can do automatic, or you can use LLM as a judge. But this is what you see here. The next thing that AI is an experiment. It's not a deployment. You can try a multiple demos, you can try a multiple models, you can try a different trials, and then you can compare all them together. Once you compare all together, you can select the best experiment. Because remember, you need to evaluate different data set, different model, and select the best one set within your pyramids. Your quality, your cost, and as well the speed of the inference. And with that, always remember that you need to think big, select your right use case, put your use cases between your feasibility and the expansion. So across all of this, what is the top right-hand corner here should be your best cases because it's visible, easy to build, and have the biggest business impact. So expect this slide, how you can get started, select the best use case, start with the POC, remember the flywheel. This is all important. And because we are running out of time, this is some good resources for you. This is a good slide. Yes, take a photo of that. So you can have some data strategy references. We have cloud operation framework for AI. That could be a good point to build your strategy based on it and your operation. Remember, POC is great. Operation is a different game. Then some executive insight and a reference for Bedrock. And before you go, all of you, take up your phone and do the survey, okay? And with that, I hope you enjoyed the session and wish you the rest great of the London Summit. Thanks to you, everyone.